Thanks for doing this, man. Like we were just saying 2 seconds ago, it's really nice to come and do these in person, and we can eat and we can have a beer and we can chat. But yeah, I appreciate you taking the time out because the remote ones are a little tougher. So
yeah. Especially since this is my teaching mode right now.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you got to be like, oh, hello, everyone.
Yeah hello.
All right. Oh, so yeah, man. So how you been? You said you were doing your little passport run thing today.
I have to get my passport renewed. It's been 10 years, so it's time to renew it. It's just, man, getting things done in Taiwan. So it's like things that just getting a money order. Like I'd go to a 7-Eleven in America and get a money order, and here it's went to one bank. It's like, we don't do that. Go to another bank, and we don't do that either. We don't do that here. Finally, someone's like, you got to go to Mega Bank, which is all the way on the other side of town. So I did that all at lunch yesterday, and then finally went to Mega Bank first today and got it done. So,
it's crazy, man, because I haven't even heard the term money order. I've been here for so long, but almost 20 for at least 20 years, man. I forgot about that. I remember those old infomercials. That's probably the last time I heard money order. Like way back in the day. But wait, there's more,
So check or money order, P.O. Box 221,
exactly.
Colorado. Yeah.
The Ginsu 2000, it's just like,
those things are great.
I wanted one of those so bad because they could cut through a shoe. Not that you'd ever cut through your shoe. It's crazy. It's crazy.
If you ever had to get your shoe off in an emergency, it's worth it.
It's crazy, brother. I mean, my gosh, yeah. So tell me about yourself, man. I know you're a comedian.
I do stand-up. Do stand-up and improv comedy here. I'm a ventriloquist.
Okay. Wow.
And Montessori teacher. So got a lot on my plate. Out there.
How has it been with the whole pandemic? Has that affected your work at all, or?
Yeah, well, my full-time job's a teacher.
Okay.
But I teach young children, so like I've gone from, of course, in person to online.
Yeah.
And it's
how has that changed?
Harder.
How has that changed your life?
Well, it's really hard to get. I mean, we're talking really young students, like 4, 5, 6-year-olds. It's trying to get them to pay attention. We do it for like 20 minutes, and sometimes I have a great lesson and the whole day goes great, and other times it's like they learned nothing today.
Yeah.
There's nothing going in the years.
I think most of us, the expats and stuff that come in, we all start. I mean, at least a good percentage of us start teaching and stuff in the beginning. And I taught kindergarten, and that was one of the things I enjoyed the most, actually. The only reason I stopped was because we just got too busy with the restaurants and stuff like that. But I love kindergarten, man. I mean, I take it you do as well? Or?
Oh, yeah. That's my age group. That's my favorite age group to teach. So.
I remember teaching like really young kindergartens. Grade 1, grade 2, grade 3 was amazing. Grade 4 was kind of like, and then for me, in my experience, grade 5, 6 was the worst.
Yeah.
And then 7 was kind of like, it's a little bit better. And then 8 and up was great because for me, it was weird. I just taught the older guys. I would just be like, dude, come on, man. What are we doing here? I'd be like, like man to man. I'd be like, hey, are you guys kids? What are we doing? But like the grade, 5s and 6, I'd be like, okay, everybody open your books to page number 112. Yeah, fuck you, teacher. and you're just like, you know what I mean? You're like,
all right, let me teach you the other customers. You guys are old enough.
Okay, yeah, you're just like, well, thanks so much for that. And then there was a couple times where they were really bad, and on the break I'd go to like it was a bushy band, right? So I'd go into the manager and I'd be like, you know what, I don't want this guy in my class. And they'd be like, well, why not? And they're just like, well, he basically just told me to fuck off in front of everybody. And they're just like, oh, he didn't mean it. It's like, what? I'm like, yeah, but you realize he destroyed.
You get sued in Taiwan for that here.
Yeah, I do. You realize that he destroyed the first 30 minutes of my class with 2 words, because trying to get control after someone does that to you, you're just like, yeah, forget about it. Man. You're done. All right, recess. Yeah. It's crazy.
I had one class of just junior high school girls.
Oh, okay. That's
7
tough.
girls. They all came from the same junior high. They had bounced around to every bushy bond in the area. And basically, like, this was a new bushy bond. They're like, okay,
we'll take you.
Whenever students come in. And there was one time I probably shouldn't advertise I did this, but they started cussing me out in Chinese.
Oh, it's the worst, man. Yeah.
And those are the words you learn first in English.
Yeah, you know those words for sure. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So I just went off and just started yelling at them. And this is when they were like brand new school and they're giving new parents a tour. They had like 5 groups of parents there. And I'm upstairs on the 3rd floor just screaming my head off. And you're just like, yeah. It's crazy. It's tough. I mean, I remember at this one school, this one girl, she was super smart. And she would, I think she was probably grade 6, grade 7. Yeah. And she would, like, class time. I mean, it's probably not a good story to share, but class time would be normal. Most people are normal. And this one girl would always be telling me that she would watch her parents, go at it. And I'm just like, okay, so page 112, did you want to read that for me? And they'd be like, and she's like making noises. And I'm like, I got to go tell the teacher. You need something. We got to do something here because it's the same situation. It's all girls. And I'm like, I got to get out of this class. So I had to tell the teacher, I can't teach that class, man. You got to give that a female teacher because I'll take the pay cut because this girl, I mean, I'm not going to go into full details, but she was crazy. I was like, this is not what I signed up for. So good luck finding a teacher for that. Yeah. Rough, crazy. That's what I'm saying. Like grade 5, grade 6, grade 7, these are tough for me, man. Yeah. Over that, you talk to them like adults, you treat them like bros and everybody's good. Under that, they're still cute and you can still kind of like bribe them with candy. But I mean, but like that grade 5, grade 6, grade 7 for me was like, that's a tough one, man. That was always my experience. It's always been how good the school itself is. Like if they're still expecting these 5, 6, and 7-year-olds to, I say 5th, 6th, and 6th, 7th graders on, if they're still expecting them to just do like, okay, let's do more grammar practice and worksheets and things like that, then there's like no hope.
It's not going to work.
No,
it's not going to work. Yeah.
I can run in there and do improv with the kids. Then it's like all of a sudden they're right on board and they're in the class with me. So
I mean, the cool thing about the younger kids is like they're all waiting for that game at the end. It's sticky ball. The sticky ball in class time is like, oh, teacher game, teacher big game, teacher big game.
Yeah.
And you're just like, yeah, I mean, so if someone messes around, you can be like, you don't get to play the game today. Yeah. And they're just like, oh
no.
But you tell that to like a grade 6 and they're just like, fuck the game, teacher. And
you're like sticky ball. And they're like,
yeah. And they're just like, yeah. Come on, teacher. And then, they teach you all these like weird slang and stuff. And they'll be like, teacher, I have a question. I'm like, oh, what's up? And it was always one of these like shady kids. It's like, oh, shoot. Okay, what's up? Billy likes yellow magazines. And I'm just like, what? You know what I mean? I'm like, and then the whole class is like, yeah. And I'm like, yellow magazines? I know it's bad. And then I have to go ask around and they're like, oh, that's like porno magazines. It's like, oh.
Well, we have.
What do you say? You're like, okay, yeah.
My friend and I came up with a great idea for a sitcom, and we've done nothing with it for years. So,
okay,
if he ever sees me tell this story, oh well, Tom, we had our chance to do something.
Let's do it.
It was basically called Cram School, and it centers around. We had the idea that there's like the Joy money and the Hess money and the giraffe dollar bills and stuff. So it centers around the idea of this one student who's figured out the monetary system of all the cram schools.
That's beautiful.
And he's doing like money trading.
Like black market.
$20 that's worth 20 giraffe dollars. Here you go.
Somebody comes in, you got that giraffe dollars, man. I need $5, man. I need 5 giraffe dollars right now. All right, that's going to cost you 500 NT. They're like, all right, hold on.
All right, got
it. So they can get like a pen, grabbing 500 NT from their mom's purse. It's like, I got my giraffe pen. Yes. Yeah. It's crazy, man. Yeah.
And he enters the bushy bond world, and he enters in Kitty's class. There's always a kitty in every class. The perfect girl.
God. Yeah.
And so, no offense to anyone who's named Kitty. It's stereotype sometimes. And she's all proud. The teacher goes around and is like, how are you? And she's like, I'm fine, thank you. And you? And she's really proud of always having the right answer. And then the teacher gets to this new kid. It's like, hey, how are you? It's like, yo, man, what's up? I'm hanging out, having a good day, man. What the fuck are you up to? And all of a sudden the teacher loves this kid.
And you're like, okay, check, please. Check, please. Yeah. You know what? That's a great idea. You could even do it with like adults and foreign teachers as the kids and stuff, man, because that'd be crazy. Because we've all had that kitty. Like mine was a girl called Wendy, and she was just like this perfect little girl. I mean, this is weird. I'm going to date myself. It was probably like 18 years ago. Right. And the cool thing is I had this group of 5 or 6 kids for my first 2.5 years here, two almost 3 years. And these kids, like now they still message me. They, they're like, I don't really see them, but they kind of keep in touch. But now they're like early 20s. Right. And it's weird,
the same thing now. Yeah.
It's definitely weird because I remember coaching soccer this one time. I was coaching soccer way back. I know you coach boys, girls, whatever. You're just coaching kids. And I think about 2 years ago, this one girl comes in, into the restaurant, just right here, just bang, 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 right behind me. And then she comes and she gives me like this big hug. And she's smoking hot, right? And I'm just kind of looking at her like,
you're looking for your wife.
Who are you? And she's just like, oh, it's me. And I won't say her name. She's like, oh, it's me, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, I remember that name because it was a unique name, right? It's like, oh, cool. Okay, how's it going? She's like, yeah, you were like my favorite coach. And it's just like, and I mean, she's like in her early 20s, and you're just kind of like, okay. All the staff is like her age. They're all looking at me. They're like, what is going on here? Why is this girl like hanging off, the boss? And I'm just like, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy, man. Yeah.
Well, I started teaching in 2001 back in America.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so like I have students that are like in graduate school now, and I taught them in kindergarten. And it's like,
it's crazy.
I taught you to learn how to read. Don't forget.
Yeah.
Learn from me.
I from about age 12 was coaching soccer in Canada. Right. So I remember there's one bar in my hometown, and I remember going into the bar
at 12 or later.
I was probably like 30, maybe late 20s, and I'd go to the bar, and they're not really checking anybody's ID, but this girl who I used to coach when she was like 5, she's checking my ID, and I'm like, you don't remember me? And she's just like, ID please, and she looks at my ID and she's just like, yeah, you're checking if you're 19. I'm like 30. I'm like, yeah. And she's just like, she's all suspicious. I'm like, I coached you when you're 5. And she's just like, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. Yeah. Back to that kitty before I forget. I was teaching in Shindrong at this one school, and like we were saying, kitty is a common one, right? That's a really common name, and it's always like a really cool kid and stuff like that. And so this one couple, they have this girl, they put her in my class. They like the name Kitty, but they want to have it. They want to have something unique, something different, because there's so many kitties everywhere. So they're like, okay, well, she likes Hello Kitty. What are we gonna do? We're gonna call her Titty, right? So I'm like, okay. So she's writing her name, and hello, my name is Titty. And I'm like, who gave you that name, right? And she's just like, oh, my mom and dad. I'm like, okay, I'm going to talk to mom and dad. And so I'm like, hey, guys, I tell my assistant teacher who's Taiwanese, and she's just like, what? That doesn't mean anything, whatever. And I'm like, it means something. Yeah. And so they're just, the parents come in and they're like, hey, are you Titty's mom? They're like, yeah, I'm Titty's mom. I'm like, okay. So how'd you come up with that name? And they tell me the story. We like Kitty, but want to be unique, so let's call her Titty. And I'm like, well, titty's a bit, that's a bit of a slang term for something else. And they're just like, well, what? And I'm like, well, it took me a long time to explain it without sounding like, Unky Perv, right? Yeah. And I'm like, it's just a slang term that you don't really want your daughter to have that name, And they're just like, eventually when they got it, they're like, oh, no, nobody's going to know that. And I'm like, okay, hey, it's on you guys. I did my duty. I let you know that you should not call, if you're Taiwanese and you're naming your kid, do not call your daughter Titty. Okay, because it's not going to end up well. It's not going to end up well. Yeah,
she's going to get different calls for a business card.
Exactly.
I work in advertising. Shut up,
Titty. Yeah, Titty. It's so bad, man. Yeah. So you were saying that you've been doing stand-up comedy as well for a while, right? Yeah. So who are you working with? Like you're out in Taichung, right?
I'm in Taichung, yeah. Okay. There is a group out here doing it, and they do an open mic
Nice.
It's supposed to be twice a month, but the last month it's been shut down. So unfortunately, but there's a place called iBrew that does open mic twice a month.
Oh, beauty. Okay. I've heard of it. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. There's also Frog, restaurant / bar down here that they do. We do most of our shows at. It's a lot big. Oh, that got loud. That was a loud thing. We do most of our shows at.
Yeah. Whoa. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Just waking up the people who are just watching this. We do our shows there, and we do all our paid shows there. And I'm teaching a stand-up class right now, also. So they get, it's like an 8-week class.
That's
on the
awesome,
7th
man.
week, they do basically their own show.
Oh, that's really a cool idea.
Yeah,
that's really how. I mean, is it still going? Are you doing it online or
yeah?
How did that?
We did one class at the beginning of the year.
Okay,
and people just were like right after that, they were like, "I want to sign up. I want to sign up." So I started another class like a week after we finished that class, and we started that, and then right away we had one class together, and then we had to switch it to online. So I'm still gonna finish the classes online, and then be like, okay, let's still get together, do a bunch of stuff in person, because the online stuff, it's just not quite the same.
It's well, tell me about it, man. Shoot.
Yeah.
Like I think that's genius, to be honest. I think that a lot of people are finding new cool ideas and moving things online has been really cool. And I mean, obviously it sucks for restaurants when it's, there's no more dine-in, but you gotta support your favorite restaurants. Anyone that's watching, I mean, not necessarily have to be me, but your favorite place, because it's pretty rough. I think most restaurants we're down about 50%. Most restaurants, when I tell them that, they're like, wow, that's really good. And I'm like, good. Yeah. I mean, shoot, good. All that money that, that we're kind of banking up little bit by little bit. That's kind of like, another month or two of that's going to be toast. And then we've been working for free for, geez, who knows, man. Yeah. It's been a 14-year gig, and it's, I mean, you don't think that this would happen, but it is what it is. We're working on it, trying to get it better.
Right. How long I was just going to say, how long have you been doing it? I guess 14 years, right?
14 years, man. Yeah. So we started about 14 years ago.
A small stand or something, right?
Yeah, a stand. We started with a stand 14 years ago. We did that for about a year, and then we moved to a really small restaurant in Danshui, about 10 tables, 8 to 10 tables, and then we moved
I remember that place.
Tianmu. Yeah, you went to that one, yeah. That place was when everybody was just all over what was it? Was it Formosa?
Yeah,
Formosa and T-Lit, just saying there's no Mexican place, and F Taiwan, there's no Mexican. So we did that, and we put it out in Danshui, and then people were pretty happy, but then they're just like, why is it in Danshui? And it's like, hey man, what do you want me to do? Taipei City is expensive, dude. Yeah, it takes a while to get the cash to open up in Taipei City, man. Shoot. Yeah. But we did that for about 3.5-4 years, and then it overlapped with our first Tianmu location. And then we closed Danshui because running 2 is rough. Then we had the one there, and then we expanded to 2 in Tianmu, which was actually not too bad for a while. And then what was it last year? About a year ago, we shrunk it back down to 1, and it's been okay. It's been pretty good with just 1.
Yeah, right now it's been real tough running 2.
I know all the people that are like, the guys that have like 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 restaurants. Right. It's tough, man. It's very tough, because for me, I just got to keep 1 pounding. I mean, like, I'm stuffing that, online ordering form down in every, spamming it to every Facebook group. And it's like, order this, order this, order this. And, it's been pretty good. It's been pretty effective. The last week kind of sucked. And I told my wife, we need to pull out the big guns. So we're making tamales this week. And I said, I'm going to put a post out that says we're doing tamales this week. Let's just see if anyone's interested. And then just like it started blowing up, and people were messaging me on Facebook and Instagram and everything. They're like, I want tamales. I want tamales. So we pre-ordered like, oh my God, hundreds of them. And it's just, I mean, we ran out of leaves, like the
there
leaves
you go,
that you wrap them in.
If you're looking for something to eat right now.
Tamales, man. Tamales are crazy. It's crazy. So we ran out of leaves. Like, we ordered all the leaves, and we just, so I just steamed our first batch. I just had my taste. It's perfect. We nailed it.
Nice.
And I mean, on the first batch, you're always kind of like a little bit nervous because usually you make them with like maseca, like arimasa, like the instant corn powder, sort of cornmeal sort of stuff, right? But we stopped using that years ago, and now we're using our own corn. Like we get dried corn from a farm, so it's significantly different. But the first batch when I was tweaking it and stuff like that, I was a little bit worried. I mean, you always have that in the back of your mind. It's like, oh my God, what if it doesn't work? I already pre-sold these, and no, I just had one, and so that's why I'm happy. Things worked out. I was like, yes, it's actually, in theory, it should be better. Like when you're using actual real corn as opposed to like, instant flour, and it is much better. So it's just like, whew, I have a beer tonight later. Yeah. So we ordered a whole bunch of bamboo leaves and banana leaves, and we're testing all the different kinds of leaves we can get here. Traditionally, it's corn husk, but we can't get those here unless we go to like who knows where and then get them and then dry them. And I mean, we've already got different kinds of leaves here. So yeah, it's been pretty good. Gives a little twist as well. And it's Zhongzi season right now. So I figured, let's do it, right? Yeah. It's Zhongzi season. Yeah, man. So I want to go back to your stand-up comedy class. So
all right.
Tell me a little bit more about that, because I think that's genius. Because I think for me, before I came to Taiwan, just a little bit about me, I was super, super shy. Like I was just like almost like anxiety shy, like crazy. And when I'd get into crowds and stuff like that, I'd be like super quiet, super shy. And I came here, I was like that for a while. Even when I was coaching, it was weird. And when I came here, the thing that really helped me sort of come out was actually teaching kindergarten. Teaching kindergarten was like the best thing for me, because I'm not shy anymore. And I would just come out, and I mean, it was crazy. But before that, it was rough. And so I feel a lot of people, especially around here, people get really shy. They don't want to talk. So I think that like to get someone to do stand-up comedy, that's one of the toughest things, I think, to get up there. Yeah, to get up there and have the chance of somebody heckling you. I mean, I'm sure they don't really heckle in Taiwan, I'm guessing, but there's always going to be somebody. The few comedy shows that I've seen here, there's always one or two foreigners yelling stuff, and you have to have some thick skin. You have to, and you got to be quick. You got to be witty, because that's not an easy thing to teach, man. So I mean, tell me more about that. Yeah.
And it's also just an intro class too, which
okay.
how much I can prepare you for a really hard heckler. Intro class, not but there's what people tend to realize. I mean, there's a lot to this. I mean, I first focus on them writing about themselves, because most of the comedy is going to come from you, and your actual
past experience. Yep.
But then also like taking characteristics and exaggerating it about yourself. If you are like super organized, your character on stage is more OCD.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah.
So it's getting those, but also there are different writing techniques as far as writing setups and punchlines. And so people, a lot of the practice, they're like, the people are trying stuff and they're just like, this just isn't funny. And we're like, well, what if you do it like try this writing style that we talked about, switch it into something where you're, first, look at the rules of three. You got a perfect example for the rule of three. There are different setup and punchlines. Like if the setup is just information, then the punchline should be exaggerated. If the setup is childlike, adult-like, the punchline should be childlike. Just teaching them all those writing structures and being like, if you have the premise there you think is funny. Then there's some way to translate that through all these different structures into something that works for the stage. And so it's a lot of time doing that. And then they start writing stuff and we're like, wait, what if you change this into this? And then they're like, oh, that works. It works with a group of 5 people who like,
I would also imagine like a lot of the stuff that I think is funny, when I say it out loud to a group of people, it's not funny, and you're just like, you're expecting, pause for laughter. You're expecting that. And it's like those old Simpsons episodes where somebody says something and all you hear is it's like dead silent. So it's kind of like, it's gotta be with those lights up on a stage, where you think, oh, this one's going to kill. At least I've got this one, and nobody laughs. To be able to spin that and do something, it's got to be, that's a tough thing a tough tool to sharpen, let's say,
Yeah. And when I did my first comedy class before coming to Taiwan, I'll tell you about my show, my first show before that.
Let's have it. Yeah.
But I did my first comedy class, and during our graduation, I was the first one to go up out of a group of, I think, 10 people.
Okay.
And it was just like, I wanted to go right up to the teacher and be like, right before I was ready to just go, I can't do this, and run out the door.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And especially in a real comedy club, there are the lights on you, and you can literally see the first 2 rows, and everything else is black. And so it's nerve-wracking if you're not really ready for it or used to it. But it's something that over the course of the class you go, oh well, you realize that your writing is actually good enough at the time to go up there that you're going to be. The person who taught my comedy class, he said, if you do the work, you will have a good show at the end of it.
Okay.
And it was pretty much true of everyone that took the class last time, and everyone that took my comedy class, and everyone who took the comedy classes before mine, that all said the same thing. It just, if you just do all the work, it comes out in the end. And so
how's the response for something like that? I mean, is it pretty niche, or is it because most people would consider themselves funny, right? Because but I would imagine, not that many people are funny, right? So well, how do you balance that? Yeah,
it's also there's a difference between being funny with your friends, because your friends have all the context, they know the conversations you're having and everything like that, and just going on stage with a whole group of people you don't know and they don't know you, exactly. Trying to get that out right away. So that's why I focus on the character, because you have to get the audience to know kind of your character right away, and then the rest of the stuff follows. But the response is always great. There's a Taipei comedy club right now. I see you have a 2-3 brewery.
2-3, man. Shout out to the 2. There we go. Hold on. Where are we at?
Yeah.
To the 2-3. Yeah.
2-3 is running the comedy club now. So.
Yeah, I was going to actually mention that. Do you do the the Taichung comedy guys and the Taipei guys? Is everybody kind of cool? Is that a cool group? Yeah,
we're getting along cool. Really well. So
okay, because I know Sam a little bit. Sam's a good guy, right? He's running 2-3.
Sam's a great guy.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. I know that there's a couple of people out there that are, that are maybe not as popular. There's this, I can't remember anyone's name, and I don't want to mention it anyway. But there's, I think, one. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure you know who it is. Yeah.
Entirely.
Yeah. So somebody's I don't know. I can't remember, but there's a couple of people that everybody's always don't get those people in there. You're like, oh, okay, shoot. Because we used to do comedy shows here before 2-3 opened up, because in this area we have a lot of expat customers, and most of them are it's a lot of families here, right? So in Tianmu, we get a lot of the expats coming in, for dinner, and they're having their beers and their margaritas and stuff, but they all live close by. So even with a comedy club that's not that far away, it's a special occasion for them to kind of leave Tianmu. Same as me. I don't get to leave this area that much, but so we try to bring, we do karaoke nights, we show UFC. We try to do comedy nights and live music. We just started a pub quiz night, which was super effective until obviously you couldn't do it anymore. So that's always a
Googling on their other screen.
Exactly. Yeah. So right now, the comedy. What do you think about the comedy scene? Is everybody cool or?
For the most part now, especially.
Everybody's all the restaurants are
I'm trying to be a little careful how I say. One thing.
It's all good.
That Sam really did with the comedy club, he found out that open mics where the comedians don't get paid, at least, that can happen now, and they got the government to finally admit that it can actually happen where they can have an open mic and people with an ARC can come in and perform, Because before that, it was like, if you just have an ARC, not an open work permit, you can't do anything.
I had him on the show way back. He's one of the first episodes, and he actually told me that story, that they went through the process with the government, so that foreigners could do open mic. That's crazy, man. That's crazy.
That's crazy.
That's amazing. That's amazing. But it's just like, holy wow. Okay.
Yeah, that was huge. So shout out to Sam again, 2-3 Comedy Club.
Where they at? Where's the 2-3 at? There we go. Let's keep that in the back. Let's keep that in the background there. The 2-3. Yeah. So no, I think I've had a few comedians on. We also had Esther on, Esther Chen, and Esther Chen, I went out to watch a couple of shows. Funny story. One of the ex-owners of 23, Matt as well. He's actually a good friend of mine, and so he messages me one time, and he's just like, come down. We're having a party at 2-3, and I'm like, I don't think I'll be able to make it out. And another, what's the word? I'm losing my English. Our common friend, one of our friends, he messaged me. He's like, you're not going out? I'm like, nah, I can't go. I'm tired, dude. And he's like, no, he's like leaving next week. I'm like, all right, cool. Where's he going? He's like, no. He's like, he sold his shares. He's out. He's leaving.
Right.
And I was like, really? Oh shit. Okay. So I got to go, So I went and we caught a comedy show, and it's tough. I mean, being in the crowd, there's always somebody heckling, and we went to watch a show, and I mean, some of it was great, some of it was not so great, but that it's going to be tough, right? I mean, it's got to be tough when you're up there, It's got to be really tough.
It's easy when it's great. It's horrible when it's not great.
Do you have any like on
the specific shows that pop up in my head? Actually, 3. One was with Sam.
Tell me about them. Okay.
I'll tell the one with Sam first. That was in Shinju, and I lived in Shinju at the time, and there was a place, Mary Cafe, that we used to do shows at. And I'm really someone who likes to interact with the audience a lot and just play off what they say.
I think that's key. Yeah,
I love doing that.
Yeah.
So, but I'm a ventriloquist, so I have my dog there, and he's like, he's talking to the first row, and he's just like, "What's your name?" And she doesn't answer, and then I crack a joke about that, and kind of go into the next guy, ask what his name is. He's not answering, and then I go I went to like 5 people in the audience, like one right after the other. No one was talking to me, and so I'm like, okay, this is awkward, and I just kind of stumbled through my set. It's bad enough if you're a comedian, but if you're a comedian holding a puppet and you're not funny. Some 40-year-old douchebag with a dog.
Hey, we're all 40-year-old douchebags, man. I think yeah. No, it's got to be tough, man. I mean, like when I was watching the show, I mean, I think there was about six skits that we saw, and I remember one guy being really funny and the other guy being pretty funny, and the other 4 it was rough, man. And I thought, geez.
And it's even harder when those 4 people don't know they're bad. And I just keep thinking they're the greatest.
When we did one of our shows here, 2 specific things pop up. One of the guys, he goes up and he's just like, "Hello, everybody," and he just starts like super monotone. Right. So everyone's waiting. Everyone's waiting for that punchline, right? Yep. Everyone's waiting for like him to explode and have something funny, and he's just like, "What's up, brother?" Sorry, one of my buddies is walking by.
It's all right.
And he's just like, "Hey guys, well," and he starts telling his bit, and everybody's kind of waiting for this guy to just explode with something funny, and then like, "All right, thanks everybody," and then he walks off. Nothing happened, and everybody's like. So
coming back later with an amazing punchline.
It was crazy. So there was that one guy, and then there was another one where I think somebody was visiting from Hong Kong or something, and this guy goes on and he bombs. Right, like it is what it is. It's going to be tough. Yeah. I would imagine, you're all going to bomb sometime. I'd probably bomb if I went up. So you go up, he bombs. Okay, it is what it is. Nothing, no big deal. Sam goes on and he kind of like livens the crowd up again. Then the next person comes on. And the first thing that next person says is, "Don't worry, I'm not going to be anywhere near as bad as that guy." Right? And he's way worse. It's like, oh my God. Everybody's like, what?
The other guy out.
It's just like, oh my gosh. Yeah. It's just like, and it was just, everybody's looking around like, And then because it's at my venue, you know, the people that are sitting there, they spent the tickets and spending money. They're looking at me like, man, just enjoy the show, man. And I'm like getting nervous because I mean, there's two not funny guys in a row, and I'm just like, oh shit. Yeah. Now I'm like, you know, I'm gonna get all this shit from these people. But then, you know, Sam's the king, man. Sam comes on and he picks the crowd. He brings them all back, man. So, and then there have been some really funny ones, and it's super famous Taiwanese guy Brian, right? Who's like blown up since then. He was here. He did his show before. He was already pretty famous, but not like own your own talk show, you know, famous. He's funny. Like he came out, he did some funny stuff, and English was really funny. So yeah, it was pretty cool, man. It was good. I've always had the idea I want to try it, whether I bomb or not. It doesn't matter, but it's like a bucket list thing that
my class is online now.
Yeah. Hey man, I'd love to try it. Yeah. So that's why I'm asking, you know, I'm a little tight right now as our sales suck. Yeah. But I would love to definitely try it, man, because I'd like to try it out. And I'd like to go out do some open mic and yeah, that'd be cool. I'd love to try that, man. I mean, it's a bucket list thing. Like I said, you know, when you're chatting with customers or friends or whoever, everybody's like, "Oh my God, you're so funny!" But doing it in front of a crowd who nobody knows anything about you, it's got to be 10 times tougher at least, you know. So I'm up for the challenge. You know, I'd like to try it. Yeah. Yeah.
It's addicting. It's addictive. I'm just warning you, you know?
Okay. Yeah. That sounds great, man. Yeah. I mean, you got, because for me, just to get out and do something. And, you know, I don't know, I'm a bit nuts. It's hard for me to just go out and sit around and have a beer or whatever, which is okay sometimes, but I'd like to try it out. I basically live in chaos, man. Like when you have a restaurant and you have like 16 staff and you're married, you know, you're married and your wife is in the restaurant all day and you're in the restaurant all day and you got a kid and you're just doing podcasts. You live in chaos. And so when things like to be honest, like 2 months ago, it was super good. And I was starting to get like, I mean, you want to get to that point where you're just like, all right, there's steady income coming in. I can do a little bit of small investing and stuff. And it took a lot longer than it should have to get there. But I got there and we're like, hey, this is kind of nice. But then in the back of your mind, I'm like, this is kind of boring too. You know, I'm just sitting here. I'm like, what?
Those times when nobody's in the restaurant and you're just like, standing around like, I'm going to go stand over here now. You know?
Yeah. Well, that's where the podcast was born, because Wednesdays, they used to be like just so slow.
Right.
And I always wanted to do the podcast because you get to meet people from all over the world and there's so many really cool stories. And you just think, man, I would love to share this guy's story or this gal's story. And that's why, you know, Wednesdays were just empty. And it got to a point, not right now, obviously, but got to a point where Wednesdays were packed. And I mean, I moved the podcast to Tuesday because Wednesdays we're doing half price wings. That's why we started with wings. It was packed and it was great. And life was good about 2 months ago. And now we're back to like day one hustling mode, you know, no more dine in. You got to get creative. You got to bring out the big guns. The tamales are back. You know, I'm driving to like Nehu delivering beers and stuff. I'm like, it's crazy. You want
to drive to Taichung to deliver some food?
that would be something for sure. Yeah. Taichung is far. That's pretty far. Yeah. But I have some friends that used to live out there. We used to go to Taichung once in a while. It's pretty nice, man. I like it out there, man.
I love it out here. Yeah.
I'm curious why you chose Taichung over Taipei, because most people just come to Taipei and
I started in Changhua. I was working in a Montessori classroom back home.
Okay.
My mom worked at Xavier University. She was director of the Montessori program there.
Okay.
And so she helped a bunch of people in Taiwan get their master's degree in Montessori. And got
that's cool.
And this lady who had a school just saw me in the classroom, was like, hey, do you want to come to Taiwan for a year? I'm like, yeah, a year sounds good.
That's so good. It's so common. It's such a common story. We're all planning to come here for a year. You know, I just basically, I was going through this police academy sort of process, got all the way to the end. I was young and I've passed everything, written and physical and all that crap, got all the way to the final interview. Failed that because I was too young and didn't have the life experience that they wanted. So they're like, you can reapply in 2 years. So I came out. I'm like, okay, I'll come out here for a year or so and see what's up. That was like 18 years ago, I think, man. It's crazy.
I came in 2006, and when I think back, I'm like, I sometimes slip up. I'm like, I came in 2016, which was only 5 years ago, but it was a decade before that.
It's crazy, and it's funny because I do some of the podcasts in Chinese, and I get to chat with my customers a lot, and I get forced to speak a lot of Mandarin here, and it's it's pretty decent. It's pretty decent, but when I tell people, they're like, "Oh my God, your Mandarin, it's so good. It's so good. Wow, well, how'd you do? Did you go to school?" I'm like, no, I just from talking with people. And they're like, "Wow, how long have you been here?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, almost 20 years." And they're like, "Wait a minute. It's not 20 years good. It's pretty good, but it's not like 20 years good." I'm thinking if you were here for 5 years, it's amazing. If you're here for 20, better get on it, buddy. And you're like, "Yo, I appreciate that. Thank you." Yeah. Yeah. Appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah. It is challenging to do these, and when I do these in Mandarin, because I really have to prep, and I got to have like topics ready, and so I'll have like the topic in English, and then I'll have it like translated, and then I'll have it in Pinyin, and then I'll have it into like dumbed down Pinyin, so that I can just kind of be like, look at it, and then just keep going. Right? It's tough.
This is how
so like one question,
Spanish letters.
Exactly, like one question or one topic that's like 3 or 4 words. It's like this much, because it's like English, characters, which I can't read, and then Pinyin, and then like dumbed down Pinyin to where I can say it. It's just like, and people are like, "Wow, your Mandarin's so good." I'm like, "Do you want to see my notes? It's not that good." Shoot. I'm sitting here like, all nervous. Yeah. I don't even listen to the answer. I'm just thinking, yes, I got the question out. I don't even know what the answer was because it's like, let's get the question out. It's good.
Like, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard. Okay, thank you for the answer to my next question.
Awesome. Yeah, that's fantastic. One time I was doing it with an MMA fighter who's super sweet. This is one of my favorite local fighters, and she's so soft spoken, right? And we were here, and I mean, the restaurant was kind of busy, but there's like some tables like, I can actually turn this, right? So I have like tables like right here, and I don't put anyone there because it's a little bit distracting, right? So let me get the 23 back in there. So it's a little bit distracting, and so the staff knows not to, but I had 2 customers that come all the time, 2 American guys, friends of mine. They come and they sit like right there, and they're so fucking loud. They're talking so loud. All I can hear is their conversation, and I'm like talking about this career with this amazing like local fighter, and I can't hear anything she's saying, and I'm just like, oh really? Okay. Oh, you broke your ankle. That's fantastic. Yeah, well, next question. I'm like, excuse me,
great that you broke your ankle.
Will you guys shut the fuck up and move over there, please? Thanks so much. All right, we're back. Yeah, so it's kind of like, it's crazy, man. It's a crazy, so like I said, I did this because there's cool stories. There's a lot of cool people, man, doing cool stuff, locals and expat, man. So yeah, Taichung, you were telling me the reason you went to Taichung was because, before I cut you off there,
sorry, I also have to finish my story about that bad show.
Sorry about that. Let's do it. Let's do it.
I'll get back to that in a second. But I'm a Montessori teacher, and so
that's cool.
Where the Montessori schools are that are good.
Okay.
But that show in Shinju, I still haven't gotten to that.
Let's go. I want to hear it.
The entire like front 2 rows of people, and no one was responding to me. And I'm like, okay. And then I kind of awkwardly ran through my set. I get downstairs, and my friend Luke comes up to me. Everyone's coming up to me, just going, "Great job, great job." I'm like thinking to myself, that was fucking horrible. My friend Luke comes up to me. He's like, "What the fuck happened?" Like, thank you.
Okay. Yeah. You're like, honesty, please. Thank you. Yeah.
I tell people that story, and he's like, "Yeah, I heard you tell people that story that you didn't like it." I was like, "No, I loved it. It's exactly what I needed to hear." But the people came up to me later that were in the front row, and they had really broken English, and they were all foreigners, but they were students here, and they were like, "Our English not very good, so we don't know what you said to us." And I'm like,
okay. That makes sense. Okay. Yeah. That's funny. Your friends, they kind of they're similar to like my parents, man. Like you have your mom, and she's like, "Oh, you could be like the worst person, like the worst soccer player on the team," and your mom's like, "Oh, you're the best, Miko," and you can be the best.
Yeah.
And your dad will be like looking at you like, "The fuck was that?" You miss a penalty kick now? You know what? You're walking home.
Yep.
You know, you end up walking home with your soccer cleats on. You're like 10 years old, head down, like, oh man. Yeah. It's my parents right there, man. Your dad is just like, how is it possible? Yeah. How's it possible?
Participation trophy your mom gave you for being on the team. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. My dad would be like, what? I remember this. This is funny. I mean, at the time I was like, what? But so I have an older sister who also played. Then there's me in the middle. Obviously, I played as well. And I have a younger brother who's about 8 years younger. And since he was really little, I would coach him and I would teach him, you know, everything. So he was a killer. Like he was a phenom from, you know, 5 years old up till, you know, now he's still a crazy, crazy good player. And so like there's all these Latino families in town. It's a really small town. And everybody be like, you know, he's fantastic. Everybody loves this kid because he's an amazing player. And all the Latinos, they love soccer, right? Football, soccer, wherever you're from, you know. And I remember we're at this big, you know, somebody's birthday party, a big Latino party, and everybody would tell my dad, patting him on the back. They'd be like, you know, his middle name's Enrique, right? So they call him Kike. They'd be like, hey, Kike, you know, congratulations, man, your son's fantastic. And my dad would be like, yeah, finally I got somebody who knows how to fucking play a sport. You know, he says that like while I'm sitting there with my sister, my sister, and my brother, and he says, yeah, it's about time I got somebody who knows what they're doing, you know. And then everybody's like looking at us, and we're just like,
I love that honesty and
dads, man, they're the best. Yeah, you got to have that though. Yeah, you got to have it, man. You know,
I had a boss who we worked at a garage, and I had a boss that we just called him Boss. It was just like cool. But he one customer was complaining. It's like, why'd you guys charge so much? And we're like, well, we did this work, and we called you with the estimate, and it's still the same price. Like, this is too much money. And, you know, kept arguing with the service advisor. So it's like, hey, you know, the owner's right out there working on another car. Do you want to go talk to him? He's like, yeah, sir. So he goes out, and boss tells him the same thing. Oh, you know, we did this and this and this. And they always use the best parts unless, you know, the customer really asks for something else, you know?
Of course. And
the guy was still complaining. And it's like, oh, it just costs too much. Boss just finally goes, well, I have an airplane in another house in Florida. Somebody's got to pay for it. Might as well be you. Just like walks off. And the guy's like,
wow.
Like just gets in his car. Fucks off.
That's good. You got to have that, man. You got to have that honesty. I mean, for me, I'm in a restaurant business, and we get some crazy people. It's tough. I mean, I haven't done that, but I wanted to. I've really wanted to, because sometimes, but why is it so expensive? It's like these tamales take like 3 days to make. They take like 3 days to make. You know, it's like you have to have like 6 people wrapping for like 6 hours, and that's like, you know, you're gonna make like 50. You know, like it's crazy. It's a lot of work, you know. But it's cheap in Mexico. But it's like 10 cents in Mexico because it's Mexico.
Kind of expensive right now.
Feel free to fly on down there and fill your boots, man, because you know, it's crazy. It's pretty crazy. But yeah, with my dad, like that honesty. I mean, when you're a kid, you think that's tough, and you think, oh my God, you know, you feel like it's not good. But actually, I think it builds a lot of character. I mean, like, because of that, I got really thick skin, and I think that it helped me a lot with this business, because sometimes you get crazy people in here. They're just unreasonable, and you know, and there's many times I've wanted to tell people just get the fuck out of here, but I haven't, man. I got this really thick skin because of my dad. And there's this book, this motivational book going around called the Art of Not Giving a Fuck, right? I can't remember who's the author, right? I've seen that. And people are like, oh, good book. And I'm like, oh, I don't need that, man. And they're just like, well, I'm like, I was raised by like the king of not giving a fuck. So I got that one covered. I mean, maybe I'm not good at 99% of the other things, but that one thing, I got my dad, you know, to thank for that. So my dad's he's a funny guy, man. Now he's getting a little bit older, so he's kind of mellowed out a little bit. But yeah, my dad, growing up with my dad, I remember. Yeah, I remember getting suspended. Go ahead.
She was like kind about it, like, and very subtle. Like she worked at the university for 25 years, you know?
Yeah.
And she worked there before, like, you could register online, and all these big universities were doing online registry at the time, like mid 90s, you know?
Okay. Yeah.
With Xavier, you still had to fill out the form. You had to go see your advisor. They'd go over it. They'd sign it. You had to take it to the registrar's office. Then they would be like, oh, well, this class is filled up since you saw your, so you have to go back to my mom and have her sign another form to take another class. And it was always a headache. So she, she was talking to the dean one time, and she was like, we should really switch this online registry thing so that, we could sign people up, through the computer. The dean's like, but Beth, my mom's Beth, but she's like, but Beth, you just give all your students you just give all the good teachers to your students. And she said, so you mean there are teachers that aren't good at this university?
That's awesome.
She's like, you know what I mean? It's like, no.
Like, well, next question, please. Yeah. It's crazy, man. I think, I mean, like I'm saying, both of my parents were so opposite of each other, and it's crazy how they would even get together, because they were just like so opposite. And your mom is like, hey, you're so good, you're the best, you're the handsome, and you're blah blah blah. And my dad would be like, fuck is wrong with you? Like, what? I thought I was, no, wait. And you're just like, it's like the extremes. I remember getting suspended from high school for going drunk, right? I think I was in grade 12. We're getting drunk before the dance, and you'd get in there, and eventually, I got suspended. So my mom goes to pick me up, and I was just like, I'm not even drunk, Mom, And then my mom would be like, get in there, wait till your dad comes. And I'm like, okay. Because I'm like, it's 50-50. He could freak out, or he could just not give a shit, right?
Buy me a beer.
Just like, yeah, he'd be like, eh. And I'm like, yeah, I'd go in there, and they're like, my dad would be like, what's going on, Like, yeah, man, I got suspended from school. And he's just like, you dance with any girls? I'm like, yeah, of course, man. I was dancing with this one. And I would tell my dad, and he's like, right on, man. Right on. And that was it. He's just like, all right, good. Because I was so quiet and so
Johnny
shy.
Of, dads.
Yeah, basically. Because at that time, I was so quiet and so shy, and I never really had a girlfriend in high school. So my dad was kind of like, why doesn't this guy have a girlfriend, But he's like, you dance with girls? I'm like, yeah, Dad, there was this one, and I tell him a story, and he'd just be like, good. He's like the Emperor Palpatine. He'd be like, good. Oh, right on, man. And I'm like, but I got suspended. He's like, I don't care about that, man. As long as you're dancing with girls, and it's all good. It's all good. I'm like, all right. He's like, but you got to paint the bathroom tomorrow. I'm like, I can do that. I got like a week off. And he's just like, all right, cool. He's just like, yeah. And my mom's like, how could you just do that? And he's like, hey, yeah, I was worried, man. He's dancing with girls. Things are good. So it's good. Hey, that's like the old traditional, like Mexican guy. Like my dad is, he's like rock and roll, long hair. Like, yeah, like my dad is, he's not the he was raised obviously in Mexico, but he's not the like my mom is really traditional, and they have like all the Mexican music, and they're loud and everybody's happy. Right. But my dad was kind of just rock and roll, podhead, like fuck the world, yeah, So that like I'm saying, like complete opposite, right? Antisocial. And so like I said, he's older now, so he's definitely getting much better. But it was definitely interesting being raised with my dad. It was really fun. I got loads of stories, so. That's one of the things I want to go on and try some stand up with some stories from my dad, man. He's my God, my dad. I got some stories with him. He's crazy. He would just be, but to see the pleasure in his eyes, like he didn't care I got suspended. He was like, I was dancing with some girls. He's just like, yeah, good, good. That's my dad, though. So it's funny. It's funny, but. Yeah, my mom would be like, you're such big trouble, blah, blah, blah. Wait till your dad gets here. And my dad would be like, good. right on. Then he'd go into the garage and, smoke a joint, and then come back and be like, yeah. So where's dinner? Are we still eating? Well, where's dinner? Did we eat yet? What's going on? Yeah. So it's pretty awesome, man. It's pretty awesome.
That's awesome.
What about your parents? Were they similar or what? Opposite?
No, my dad was like really logical. Like he was just, he was Well, my mom was a nun and my dad was a priest, so I should start.
Okay.
I'm not exaggerating. My mom was actually a nun.
Really?
Yeah, wow. My dad was not quite. He wasn't ordained, but he was studying to become a Jesuit. So he was a
That's
Jesuit
pretty cool.
novice.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And
that's cool. I mean, yeah.
So I obviously fucked up, but just riddled with guilt.
Yeah. There you go.
Wow. They were not the guilty. My mom was not the nun that hit you on the head, with the ruler or anything.
Okay. Well, that's good.
She was
good.
really cool. But they were both Montessori teachers, and so they always did everything to get there'd be no way to trick dad into getting something, or mom to you'd go to dad and you'd like, Dad, can I have this? And they'd be like, oh, ask mom.
Yeah.
Mom said yes. I was like, well, I'll ask her. You go to mom and like, Mom, can I have this? And she's like, I'll ask Dad. It's like, oh, there's no way around this.
There's no way around it. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I mean, they were fantastic together, but well, they still are, but
that's that. Yeah. I remember when I was watching The Simpsons, my dad's attitude was so much like Homer. I love this show so much because my dad would be like, do I have to do anything? No. All right. Well, go ahead, man. That's basically my dad, it's basic. So when I would see Homer actually do and say stuff like that, it would just hit so close to home because you're just like, wow. Yeah. It's funny. Yeah.
My, one of my favorite, hardest I've ever laughed in my life was with my dad. We were watching The Simpsons. It was one of the early episodes.
Okay, yeah.
The good and ones, Homer had just fallen in a bunch of mud or something, and he was just crawling out of the mud. He was just trying to talk, but he had all this mud in his mouth. Yeah. And nice, it was just, I don't know, a little side story there.
No, it's Simpsons is yeah. I mean, I don't really watch it anymore because
it's been too long.
The new ones, it's been so long, but I mean, some of the old classic ones are pretty awesome, man. You get in there and you just. Yeah, I don't know. I'd nerd out with it once in a while when I have customers talking about it, and we'll just chat about it.
Yeah.
Kind of not the super early ones, but kind of the ones in the middle, the newer ones are a little bit, like I said, I haven't really watched anything, but yeah, I mean, it's pretty awesome. I think it's still going, right? I mean, I'm not sure.
Going. Yeah,
I think it is, right? Yeah. That's crazy, man. Yes, it's a long time, man. Simpsons. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, my both of my parents, man, it was funny because Marge is so nice, and my mom was always so nice and encouraging, and the dad would kind of be like,
I'm picturing but your dad seems more calm and cool. I was just picturing Edith and Archie Bunker, but
oh yeah, for sure,
a lot cooler than Archie is. So
my dad, he would be like, as long as I liked women and I could pick up a girl or talk to women, all was good. I'm like, it's all good. He'd be like, you got suspended from school. It's okay. You still like girls, right? Yeah. Well, okay. It's okay, man. No problem. Don't worry about
50
school.
years in prison.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. No problem. Death row. Girl, right? You're like, well, you still have that girlfriend? Yeah. Okay. You're good. Don't worry about it. So it's funny because he's getting older, right? And you like to chat with him. And the funny thing about my dad is he still kind of denies, smoking and stuff. And I'm like, Dad, I'm an adult. I know what's up now. And he's just kind of like, what are you talking about? I'm like, okay, all right, next topic. It's awesome. I love them. I actually miss my parents a lot. That's one of the things I miss in Taiwan. Obviously, I'm really family, right? Mexican family. All families are, they're pretty close, I think. And it's one of the things I miss, man. My parents, my brother and sister, and but I'm definitely much happier here than I was in Canada for sure. But the family's always one that I miss.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's especially hard now. I wanted to go back last year.
Yeah,
but,
me too.
We all know that story.
So for us, we were great here last year, right? And then everybody was kind of U.S., Canada. You're from States or Canada?
Yes, U.S.
U.S. Yeah. So States and Canada were both not so good, but now they're kind of on the upswing, right? They're doing well. Yeah. I heard the States is kind of booming right now. No, I think. I mean, I have no idea. I don't really watch much news, but from what I hear, States is doing well. Canada's looking pretty good. Yeah. So
it's
now
improving.
It's kind of that our turn to kind of suck a little bit, but hopefully,
it
not so bad.
It seems to be slowing down here. So
I hope so, man. I mean, the numbers have been under 200 for the last few days, right?
Right.
Which is awesome because no dining sucks, man. I mean, our sales, like I said, are down 50%, but it's not just that. Like when we have time and, everybody, the shop's taken care of. It's like, okay, I'm going to take my wife, take my daughter, want to go get a meal. We want to go out. We want to go watch a movie. Can't do anything. Yep. It's just like you go home, you watch movies at home and, which is okay. We got a nice TV and a nice setup, but it's still, you get that popcorn in the movie theater or you're going out for dinner. It's nice. It's nice. I mean, it's kind of a shitty right now. Yeah.
I want to go sit at a bar and have a beer right now. Like that's what.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I don't care if it's a bar in a restaurant. Just.
I mean, I do it, right but there. I do it, but there's no one there, so it's not as fun. Yeah. No. To be honest, I haven't had much beer lately. It's just I'm just trying to get everything rolling and get these tamales rolling and like I said, last week sucked and this week has been a bit slow, but with the tamales, I think it's gonna be a good month. Hopefully, The crazy thing is apparently the government is supposed to help a lot of businesses, but because this one is mine and my wife's, but because I'm not local, it kind of puts me on the no can do list. Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. I mean, we're still working on it, and I mean, it's not like it's desperately needed, but it would be nice because eating up all the savings sucks, right? Yeah.
And you got employees to pay. It'd be nice to at least have something there to,
Exactly, because we have some good people, and I know a lot of places they just close and they're just like, we're not going to do anything. But we still got. I mean, we did cut down a little bit of hours for the part time, but we're still going. I mean, we're still. I wouldn't say we're busy, but we still have orders. We still have customers. So. We still have to eat and freaking pay rent and all that stuff. So
exactly,
it'd be nice. It'd be nice to get past this and hopefully it's soon, man.
Well, you have one of my favorite restaurant people on a while ago, Francis and Shinju.
Oh,
you guys apparently knew each other for a while. So
I'll tell you a little about that. So Francis, he's one of my best friends. He actually, before I opened my stand in Danshui, he had his Le Rouge restaurant in Banqiao. This was way back. I mean, you've been here for a while, right? So Le Rouge, like, originally was his. And a good friend of mine, this Italian guy, he's like, I want to take you to this French Canadian Italian place. It was that's weird. Like, let's go. We went. I met Francis. We hit it off. To this day, I'm super good friends with my buddy Robert and Francis, right? Yep. And so I was telling him, I'm thinking about doing this stand, and he was just like, let's go. I'll help you do this. I'll help you do that. Yeah. I'll give you all the contacts. Let's get it done. You got to do it. You got to do it. And so I did it. And, from then till now, we're still going, all right. And so he was doing it, and then he sold it, and he went back home, and then he came back, and then he went to Novotel, way back before the craziness, right? The Novotel for, I think maybe a year, maybe 2 years. He was the executive chef there. He did that. And then he told me, he comes to me. He's like, I need some advice. I'm thinking about opening a restaurant, doing this. I got this good deal. And I told him the same thing that he told me. I'm like, let's go for it, man. If you need help, I can come and help you paint. All the distributors, whatever you need, it's yours, man. So it was pretty cool to come first full circle and see him come back. And to be honest, he is one of the best cooks that I know. When I get stuck or when I need something, I talk to my mom a lot about it. But when I need something that's like not Mexican or something that's just like, let's get it done, I call Francis, man. He's the man. So one of the best chefs I know. His food's amazing. He's hilarious. Yeah, he's a good friend of mine to this day, man. So he's still rocking out in Shinju.
Yeah,
it's been tough. It's been tough. Yeah,
and then he's back again, which I'm happy to see him back.
Yeah. He says he was closing, and then they sucked it up, and they're doing one more month. And now he's doing well. They're doing because they're pushing. I mean, a lot of places that will end up closing are the guys that are or guys or girls that'll just
kind of sit there.
They're just kind of sitting there waiting. When are we going to get our hand out? When are we going to have customers? Woe is me. Or you got to do something, right? Any business, you have to do something because you can't just sit there waiting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I went up there for we really have no focus for this podcast, but I don't care.
I know. Sorry. That's okay. That's okay. Those are the best ones, man.
My birthday last year. Yeah, back in October. And when I was in Shinju a lot more, I would just be like, man, you got to make fried pickles sometime. I love fried pickles, you know?
That was
you.
You
got to do that. So it was my birthday. I just reserved a table for like 15 people. And he comes in out the back, you know, he's like, hey, Matt, happy birthday, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I got something for you. It's like, all right. He comes down, he's got a plate of food, and I don't pay any attention. He sits down next to me, pops it down on the table. And then everyone else around me is like, are those fried pickles?
That's
and he
awesome.
had like made them for me for my birthday. I'm like, oh man, you are the god, man.
That's just Francis, man, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy, I don't know. He's actually one of my best friends, and so I messaged him when he was kind of down, and he's back in there, so he's rocking, man. I love that guy. There's a few guys in Taiwan that I've been friends with for like since almost day one, and like the other guy who introduced us, Robert. Quick story about him. I was teaching at this kindergarten in this Bushiban, whatever, and my assistant teacher, he went back to Canada or something, and so. Not my assistant, my co-teacher. So we needed another foreign teacher. So, you know, my manager's like, hey, she's a new manager. She needs a hand with the interview process. I said, all right, yeah, sure. I'm down. I'll sit with the interviews. So there was 2 interviews for that day. This one guy comes in. He's been teaching English as a second language in Spain for like 10 years. I mean, he comes in. I'd only been there for like 6 months. So this guy blows me out of the water. Like he's qualifications are like, forget about it. Right. So I'm there and I'm listening to the guy's story. And then I start speaking Spanish with him and he speaks good Spanish. And I'm just like, wow, he's got his like degree in teaching kids and he's got his TESOL or TEFL, whatever it was. He had one of those. And like, he's basically overqualified. And I look to my manager and I'm like, yeah, this guy's, I mean, you got to take this guy. And she's like, okay, well, we got one more interviewee. So, you know, what are we going to tell him? I'm like, okay, well, he's here. So let's just go through the gestures, right? Let's just do it. So he comes in, he's got these, like, he's a rock and roll guy. He's like shaved head, handlebar mustache. And I shit you not, he looks exactly the same today. The guy doesn't age. Black leather jacket, black like leather rock and roll pants. He comes in looking around and I'm like, hey, so are you here for the interview? He's like, yeah, I'm here for that interview. And I'm like looking at him like, okay, right. So he comes in, we sits down. I'm like, so, you know, could you tell me about your experience? He's like, yeah, I don't have any. And I'm like, okay, so I'm thinking, okay, I'm like, okay, yeah. So I'm like, so definitely it's the other guy. But I'm like, okay, well, this guy's here. I'm like, so what do you do? He's like, I'm a musician. You know, my wife's Taiwanese, so I just moved to Taiwan. I'm like, okay, cool. So maybe you can tell me a little about yourself. And he's like, oh, I've been gigging all over the world. You know, I'm from Canada, Sault Ste. Marie. I'm like, oh, cool. I'm from Canada too. And he's like, where? I'm like, oh, I'm from a really small town. Nobody knows it. And he's like, try me, man. I've gigged all over Canada. I'm like, small town, man. Small town. Nobody knows it. He's like, try me. And I'm like, kid him at. He's like, oh, I used to play at the pub down there and at the hotel. And I played in Terrace at the Gators bar. And we started talking about my hometown for like 10 minutes. And then the interview's like, okay, it's over. And my manager's like, what do you think? I'm like, that's the guy. So that's the guy. And she's like, but the other guy's got like 10 years experience. I'm like, no, forget about that other guy. This guy, that's the guy we need.
Gigged.
This guy gigged in my hometown. That's the guy we need. So we hired him. It was crazy. And from like, that was probably 18 years ago. From then till now, like he's one of my best friends, man. It's crazy. So yeah, it's crazy. He walks in, 0 experience. He outclassed that guy just by gigging in my hometown, man. It's crazy. It's ridiculous, but it's crazy. Yeah.
I went on an interview right before I had to go for a visa run.
Okay.
And they were like, they saw my ARC and they're like, hey, you have to go get this renewed. I'm like, I know, I'm going on Tuesday. You know, this was like, you know, Friday or something. I was like, I'm going on Tuesday to do it. And they're like, okay. So I did the interview and then like they had someone else they were interviewing. And so they called, like, I went to Hong Kong. They called me.
I remember those visa runs.
I wasn't answering my phone. I came back to Taiwan the next day. And of course I got these voicemails and stuff. So I call back and they're like, oh, well, you didn't answer your phone. We already told you, like, we hired the other person. was like, you told me to go to Hong Kong. And they're like, oh, you were in Hong Kong. I'm like, yeah. It's like, can you come in later? So I went in and they were like, we wanted you. Don't really like the other guy. So we're going to hire you both and then fire him in a couple months. Like, okay, I got my job.
And you're like,
I felt bad.
I'm okay with that. Yeah.
That's like 2 months later, the guy was really annoying. I won't say it, but he came in the office and he was like, hi, then he said his name. He's like, and I'm a virgin.
Oh,
like,
God.
Okay. And he talked about how religion has made him save himself. Like, this is the first conversation I've had with the guy.
Okay.
So I'm telling my friends about this. And a couple of years later, one of my friends like, wait, you used to work with this person's name.
Guy,
I'm like, yeah. And he's like, is that, I'll just change his name just so it's easier. Is that Mike the Virgin? I'm like, yeah. He's like, I met this guy. I was up on Bagua Mountain.
Shout out to Mike the Virgin.
Talking to me because I'm a foreigner, and he said that like he used to be a virgin before he got married, but then that's your first conversation with this guy. So yeah, I can agree with. Okay. Like when he came, and he's like, "They've just fired me." I'm like, "Oh no, sorry, buddy."
Yeah, you're just like, "Oh my gosh, really? Wow." Yeah. No, it's ruthless, man. I remember the first year I went back home. You know, you have to buy back in the day. You had to get I don't know how it is, but you had to get your return ticket, or they wouldn't let you in. So I'd always take that return ticket, go home, and then come back, right? Yeah. And so I was waiting for my last paycheck. It's payday. I'm in Canada. Going to the bank. Nothing. And I'd call the school. They're like, yeah, no, it's in there. Okay. So then obviously it would never come. So when the time I came back, I went back to the school and I'm like, I just landed yesterday. I'm back to work in a couple of days. I didn't get my pay for last month. And they're like, okay, yeah, we'll pay you now. And I'm like, you weren't going to pay me, right? They're like, no. They're like, I'm like, so if I didn't come back, you wouldn't have paid me, right? They're like, no. I'm like, okay. I know what we're working with at least. I'm like, all right, cool.
That's rough.
Like, yeah. They're like, yeah, we're not going to pay you until you're here teaching, then we'll pay you. Yeah. It was crazy, man. So I think we all gone through those crazy situations with crazy schools and crazy parents and crazy managers and just, went through so many crappy situations, but hey, got us to where we are today, I think, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, there's some funny stories there as well, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So what do you got going on for the rest of the day, bro?
I'm going to go have a few beers and get some paperwork done and just call it a day, man.
Just at home, I guess so, right?
I
guess you can't really go anywhere
nowhere else to go.
Cool, man. I mean, we kind of we're all over the place on this podcast, which was cool because it was kind of like Rogan-esque, man. He does not really a topic. It's just, like I said, a couple people chatting, man. Yeah, it was good. I had a good time. Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, same here.
But do you have once we get all this craziness back to normal, we will actually I'll get you in and we'll do it right. Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds good.
But yeah, man. So do you have anything you want to add before we call it? I mean, dude.
Yeah, if you are interested in, obviously check out 2-3 Comedy, especially if you're in Taipei.
Sure. Okay.
You can find them on Facebook, but also look up Stand Up Taichung on Facebook and try to follow that as well, because I'll post what's going on in Taichung on there. So whether it's classes
sounds
or
good.
Anything else. So
So sorry, I just had to take this order.
That's okay.
You send me the links and I'll put them in the bottom in the description. And we'll go from there, brother. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. I actually had a really good time.
Yeah.
Just sitting, chatting, no topic. That was awesome, man. Appreciate it, brother.
And order from Eddy's.
Yeah, please do. We got tamales, man. We got tamales.
There you go.
Actually, I got to go pack some up right now and get going. It's the dinner rush. Yeah.
All right.
All right, brother. Take it easy, man. You too, brother. Take care, man. Thanks a lot.